automobiles have come such a long way. Gone are the days when a pickup just had to have a good payload and towing capacity, or when a sports coupe just had to look good, or when a car merely had to get you from point A to point B. Nowadays, regardless of their primary functions, automobiles have to be a jack of all trades. And in the case of vans, it's just as tough, if not tougher. So let's see how this one does. Introducing the Maxus G-10. So it goes without saying that vans need to be big enough to seat a lot of people. And that alone already poses a challenge. Because when something's big, it usually compromises fuel efficiency, power, not to mention how easy it is to drive. And nowadays, it isn't going to be enough that a van is comfortable and spacious. Buyers are going to want something that's economical, powerful, and easy to drive. So first, let's talk about fuel efficiency. Now this is made into a 1.9 liter diesel engine that was sourced from Peugeot. And the size of the displacement, plus the fact that it is a diesel, already tells you that it's not going to be too hard on your wallet. However, the G10 does weigh over 2 tons. And that does take its toll on the fuel economy. So in city driving, you'll average around 8 to 10 kilometers per liter, depending on how bad the traffic is. And then when you stretch its legs on the highway, it'll give you around 14 kilometers per liter. Now that's not too bad. It's just not as efficient as other diesel engines out there. But think of it this way. This can accommodate 9 passengers. So it'd still be more economical to take this on a road trip as opposed to 2 cars that can do 12 kilometers per liter. Okay, so now we have fuel efficiency out of the way. Let's see how this thing does in terms of power. Okay, so you'd have to be redefining optimism if you think that the G10's acceleration would wet your pants. As expected, the acceleration isn't mind-blowing. But don't let that small displacement fool you. This is no slouch either. There's actually more than enough power on tap, which makes overtaking or going uphill a dauntless task. This engine would feel even more responsive if the transmission was just a tad bit quicker, because it does take a while to downshift when you floor the gas pedal. But still, there is more than enough power. And for those with that lingering question in their heads, will this make it up to Baguio? Yes, it definitely will, even at full capacity. There's no doubt. So some people buy vans with the sole purpose of using it as a family cruiser when they want to take the entire family or a group of friends out of town. But understandably, there are some folks who's going to use this as a daily driver. So that begs the question, how easy is this to drive? Is this something you can use as a daily driver? And again, in that regard, size poses another great challenge, because the bigger a vehicle is, typically the harder it is to drive. But the G10 kind of offsets that because it has great visibility. The sitting position gives you a nice commanding view of the road. And the huge side mirrors also help with visibility, so it doesn't feel as big as it actually is. Then there's steering. And the G10 comes with a hydraulic power steering system. Now, it's not the lightest thing on the planet, but trust me, it doesn't feel like going to the gym each time you turn the wheel. It still won't give you a good workout. And I like the fact that it gives decent feedback. Now, the steering ratio isn't that quick, but for something this big, it definitely does not feel like a boat to drive. I also like the fact that you sit behind the front wheels. Unlike traditional vans, where you have the front wheels behind you, that causes you to turn in a bit early when you're used to traditional vehicles like a sedan or an SUV for that matter. And you don't have to make that adjustment driving the G10 because again, you're sitting behind the front wheels. So it really just feels like a bigger car. So there's no denying that this is a huge vehicle, especially when you're driving in the streets of Metro Manila, where you always feel like a piece of thread that has to go through a needle. But the G10's great visibility and its huge side mirrors, plus the fact that it has sensors all around, makes it an effortless task. It really does. Oh no, traffic's starting to build up. And I hate traffic. Besides, what am I doing here? I should be sitting at the back. This is a van we're reviewing after all. You know what? I'm gonna ditch this. Time to go to the back. Okay, that's more like it. Let me buckle up first. So there are two things you would expect in sitting in the passenger cabin of a van. That's space and comfort. And in terms of that, the G10 does not disappoint. There's heaps of space here, and it's extremely comfortable. Thanks in part to the fact that this has coil springs at the back, unlike some other vans which have traditional leaf springs. So the ride is silky smooth. And I love the fact that you have heaps of creature comforts, like this footrest, an armrest here, and air vents almost everywhere. So this is the place to be. Now driving this thing ain't bad, but I would rather be here.
Hoy, gising na. Nandito na tayo.
Huh? Nandito na ba? Ah, thank you, thank you. As you can see, unlike traditional vans, the G10 isn't a shoebox on wheels. It actually has some nice touches, such as these projector headlamps, a nicely integrated grille, and dare I say, sporty looking bumpers. Along the side, we have these 16-inch alloys that look rather small, but this is a van, so it's not really a big deal. There's also this body line here just to make things a bit more interesting for your lapel, in case you scrape the side. But that really shouldn't happen, considering the fact that we have these humongous side mirrors. Towards the end, you also have a blacked out C-pillar, or should I say D-pillar, to give it the illusion of a floating roof. So when you lift the tailgate, you'll find that there's hardly any room for anything. But if you can convince 3 of your friends or family members to take the bus, then there is ample room for your luggage. Inside, you'll find that the driving position is almost car-like. The gear lever is nicely positioned, and ergonomics are pretty good because despite its size, everything is well within reach. As far as amenities are concerned, you get armrests almost everywhere, automatic climate control, power seats for both driver and front passenger, and a cigarette lighter. I haven't seen that in a while. For the instrument cluster, you get traditional analog gauges with a multi-info screen in the middle. Infotainment comes in the form of the 7-inch touchscreen with mirror link that's connected to 6 speakers and a rear view camera. Okay, so this is really where it counts the most, the back seats. And here you get heaps of space. You get 4 captain seats, all with armrests. There are footrests for the second row passengers. And there are bottle holders, a power outlet, and another cigarette lighter. There are also air vents everywhere and your own climate controls. And with all this space, it would be really nice to have some company. Hey, what's up? Never mind. So the G10's primary function is to be a people hauler, but it does everything else really well. So you owe it to your family to at least give this thing some consideration. especially with prices starting at 1,790,000 pesos. Now, if you're going to dismiss this thing right off the bat just because it's made in China, well, it's worth noting that this is made by SAIC, one of the largest automotive companies in the world. SAIC is also a Fortune Global 100 company, and if that isn't enough to convince you to at least consider this, I really don't know what will.